Hi everybody, my name is Julia Machenzi. I am one of the Associate Directors of Recruiting and Admissions for the full-time program here at Ivey. I am joined by 4 of our current students today, our MBA 2019s. We have Andrew, Ankur, Sylvia, and Sam with us today, and we are going to be talking to them about their first 60 days in the MBA program, which they have just completed, essentially last week, and lots has gone on. So just to kick it off, I'm going to have you guys maybe do really brief introduction who you are, why you're thinking about an MBA, what other schools you were thinking about, and why did you ultimately choose Ivey? Andrew, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Andrew Newton. I'm from Oakville, just outside of Toronto. And I was considering Ivey, McGill, and U of T when I wanted to do my MBA. And the reason why I picked an MBA was because I wanted to make a transition in my current career. So I worked in tech startups in Toronto in marketing, and I want to move into a sustainability role. So I knew that an MBA would equip me with the skills to make the transition without having to start back over. And I picked Ivey for a number of reasons, but I think the top 3 are the case-based learning, the small class size, and the alumni network. So Ivey has a really strong reputation for creating strong candidates and a strong workforce, and I wanted to be part of that network.
Great, awesome. What about you, Ankur?
My name is Ankur. I'm from New Delhi, India. I worked extensively in the financial technology space, and I've had a fair amount of industry experience as well. I wanted to transition into a consultant role, and I felt like formal education, ratifying everything that I'd done in the workspace was necessary to do this. Some of the schools that I'd considered were Ivey, Rotman, HEC Paris, and NCAD. But my decision for going for Ivey was also threefold. The first one was obviously the case-based education, the case-based system that we have here. The second one was the fact that, this is Canada, and I'm here with my spouse, and this is probably the only country which was convenient enough for her as well, so she gets to work. And the third was the 1-year program, so the combination of 3 worked really well for me.
Great, awesome. Yeah. What about you, Sam?
So mine's a little different. I'm from Ajax, Ontario, so it's a small town outside Toronto as well, and I kind of came to the end of a project, and that was kind of a turning point in my career, and I realized that I could either do something that I was currently doing that I liked and that I was comfortable in, or I could completely change and do something that I loved. But I felt that there was a functional gap, and so I decided on doing an MBA specifically because it's very multidisciplinary. Mm-hmm. So whether it be now or in the future, I could easily transition industries or careers. And then the schools I looked at were Rotman, Days Hotel at McGill, and then Ivey, and I did what everyone tells you not to do, and I put all my eggs in one basket and decided just to apply to Ivey, specifically because of the case-based method. I attended the class on the road, and I was completely in awe of this way of learning. I also really loved the small class size and the network of Ivey, as well as that Ivey is a non-commuter school, so you really get to bond with your classmates rather than at the end of the night going home. So everyone's stuck together, but I love it.
Awesome. That's great. Sylvia.
Yes. Hi, my name is Sylvia. I'm from Peru. And one of the reasons I choose Ivey is because also, like Sam said, like the 1-year program. And I'm also to have that change of industry that I really want. I work in a construction company before I went to move banking, and I did some research, and they have great opportunities here for networking and after the MBA. So yes.
Great. Well, we're all glad you guys are here. Sam, I want to touch on something you said really quick because you talked about it being a non-commuter program. What would you say in the last last 60 days, essentially, what have you guys been doing to kind of get to know your classmates? What has that social aspect of the program looked like?
So honestly, I think we spend all our time together, whether it's in class or outside of class, and I think the bonding really started before we even stepped foot on the Ivey campus, because before we even got here, as a cohort, it was winter, so we'd be going to watch the hockey game or going out for drinks or grabbing lunch together. But while we're here, I think the social aspect of it, we do wine nights on Thursdays. Now that it's warmer, we have bar and eat patio days. On Fridays we'd go out, Saturdays we'd go out. So it's really just bringing the whole class together, and obviously maybe like one person's apartment may not necessarily fit everybody, but as soon as we all get together in one bar, Ivey is there because we're loud and we're proud and we love being together, so it's great socially.
That's awesome. All of you mentioned as well pretty much that in choosing Ivey, case method learning was a really big reason why you chose it. So obviously very different than lecture-based learning. How have you guys adjusted to that new style of learning in class?
For me, there's no adjustment. That just suits my learning style. So it's immediately engaging. There is a lot of work that you have to do leading into the class, but it's fun because you're not just being told that this is a theory and then you're kind of have to run with it. You're given a real world situation and then you learn the theories inherently through solving the problem. And then when you get to class and you have the discussion with your section, you get to hear other people's perspectives that you wouldn't otherwise have thought. So it really just makes it a very comprehensive learning experience. So there really wasn't an adjustment because it just works.
What about you guys? Did you find it easy to adjust?
Yeah, so where I come from, we've essentially only had a lecture-based learning system, and the case-based system was a little difficult for me in the beginning, but I find that I have learned to. It's grown on me. I enjoy it a little bit more than I did the lecture bit. And of course, the fact that you have to apply yourself to a real world problem, that's helped me greatly. Over and above this, I'm new to brands and I'm new to companies in Canada, and I think the whole case-based system being about real companies and real brands has helped me pick up a lot of nuances of how businesses work here, and just the smaller things which you wouldn't have known as an international student. The case-based methods actually helping me learn a little bit about that as well.
When you guys think back to your first day here, what kind of made you the most nervous, and how would you say that nervousness has subsided now that you're a little more comfortable? I think maybe Sylvia, you came from Peru, so probably quite adjusted for you.
Yes, at the beginning maybe the language a little bit.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was not comfortable speaking it, and many people also on the first day had a lot of background like in English. They were maybe from different countries, but they have lived here in Canada like 5 years, 10 years, and just a few of us just came from our country, so that was like a shock. And also I think in some countries they also speak English like a second language. In Latin America it's not that common, so that was a shock. But like after that, like at the first week, people don't care so much. Yeah, you have to express yourself and make you understand. And maybe the first classes I was like a little shy to just give my opinion, because in the case method learning you have to, part of the grade is like to have that conversation with the teacher or with the class. So yes, at the beginning yes, but after that it was fine. Yes.
Okay. What about you, Sam? What made you nervous?
I think the workload made me kind of nervous. I remember our section head coming in and kind of explaining the way we do things, how it's you do 3 cases per day and then you prep for around 2 hours. That's kind of the time estimate he gave per case, and then you also have to meet with your learning teams. So there was a lot of solo work and teamwork, and I think I just thought to myself, how many hours are in Ivey's day? Because I don't know how I'm going to fit all this, but I think now you get a lot faster in doing cases. What once may have taken me like 4 hours going and highlighting things and making notes, like now you skim through, you know what's important, what's not important, and then the time aspect doesn't really play as big an effect in this, just because like now you work smarter,
right.
Not necessarily that there's more work, but you work smarter, and then the workload doesn't seem as much. It's like a learning.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Well, when I came in here, there was a giddy excitement, specifically because while I was excited to meet a cohort of 154, peers, I was also pretty nervous about the fact that I'm going to be meeting people from all over the world. And I was in a new place myself, so not having a self of identity, not having my bearings in place was a little overwhelming for me in the beginning. But today I just feel like I'm surrounded by friends, and the differences they just seem to have disappeared over time.
Yeah, great.
I'm not very numbers driven, so like studying for the GMAT was probably the most daunting part of the application process, and knowing that MBAs are so quant heavy for good reasons, I was very nervous that I wouldn't be up to par with my cohort and that I'd lag behind and might not even do well in the program. But like now statistics, finance, and accounting are my 3 favorite courses, and I'm like considering adding a finance element into my job outside of Ivey, which if you would have met me like 60 days ago, you wouldn't believe that those words were coming out of my mouth.
All right, cool. Well, that's a good sign. Glad to hear that. Awesome. Can you guys describe what does a typical day look like? I mean, I get that question a lot. How much of it is kind of your classwork versus social versus extracurriculars? Yeah, Andrew, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm a pretty structured person, so I tried to have an idea before I came in of how I would have my days structured. And that kind of got pushed out the window, which is fine. So I'll be honest, it is difficult to strike a balance between you want to perform well in school, you want to see your friends and get to know your cohort, you want to go to the gym or go on runs, but you can't do everything. So my days have changed relative to how they were before I came to Ivey. And I realized that I'm a morning person, so I actually wake up at like 5 a.m. and then I'll start doing readings then, and then I'll go to class and I'll do work after class and meet with my learning team. And evenings I'll do like a little bit of extra work if I need to, or sometimes there's some extracurricular events that come into our calendars. So I'll have time for that and I won't fall behind from school because I woke up earlier. And then in terms of exercise is kind of when I have time, and I try not to stress that it's a year and it's worth it and you're improving yourself in other ways.
Awesome. Anybody else 5 a.m. wake-ups? No, you're on your own there? No? How do you guys find a typical day?
Well, so I get started around 6:30. 5 is a little too
Not
early.
quite 5, but early.
Yeah. I can afford to be later than that. I won't get to school on time. And to Andrew's point, I don't think you can plan your year out before actually getting here, because a lot of the stuff is just thrown on you. Like, you expect the whole coming week to be smooth and it's easy sailing, but it doesn't happen like that, because the minute you hit Monday and you look at your calendar, there are 3 events that you have to sign up for. So but the fixed aspect of our schedule is 8:20 a.m. to about 1 p.m. Thereafter it's club events, there's career management, there's group meetings, there are learning team meetings, there are assignments and cases to do. So it's pretty packed all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
We like to keep you busy around here.
Yeah.
What would you guys say has been your best experience in the last 60 days so far?
I know Sam wants to talk about this.
Of course. Honestly, the social aspect. You come in and you're nervous about meeting all these new people, and people are different ages, different industries, different backgrounds, but as soon as you step foot here, it's like family. Like, this is your family away from home. And honestly, I think the social aspect is the biggest part. Last weekend we had a barbecue kegger at one of our colleagues' backyards, and it's just everyone came out, and it's just like nice to get the whole class together to do something fun. So I think the social aspect of it was like my best experience here in total.
Okay, awesome. What about you, Sylvia?
Yes, kind of the same. But putting emphasis on like the first social gatherings that we have, a lot of people were like, you don't even know them, and they can approach you and start talking, and it was normal. Like, it's not like, oh no, I don't know you, no. Like, everyone start talking like a minute speech, almost kind of like to someone else that you don't know, to give a little bit of information about your background, what you're doing here, where you come from. And it was so nice that you can see in the like in meetings, people like saying like, hi, how are you? My name is, I haven't met you, my name is like, it was so nice, yes.
That's good to hear. What about you guys? Favorite experience so far?
Well, it's a very close first place with so many experiences, and a lot of these have been first in my life. I've never been to a kegger before. So it's been very interesting for me, but what's most memorable for me was the first time that we actually met our learning teams, and we had a fitness boot camp on day 1. What I realized that day was just going through hard experiences together actually sets a good bonding experience for your team. And we had about 7.5 or 8 weeks together after that, and I think that was smooth sailing primarily because of the first 4.5 hours that we spent together just overcoming challenges that were set by the school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mine's very similar to theirs. Is after like a week here, it feels like I have 154 new best friends, and beyond the social aspect is the support, because this is a challenging program, and Ivey does throw a lot at you intentionally because it builds your capacity, and having a support system that you can rely on and that's going through exactly the same thing that you are really quelled a lot of my fears from before, like coming into the program, that what if I can't do this, what if there's too much work, is you have a support system and you're not doing it alone.
Yeah, okay, that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear you guys have been seeing that support for sure. What tips do you have about managing the workload? Because we know it's a busy year. Yes, we do throw a lot at you. What have you learned in the first 2 months about how you can manage that with, a life, balancing everything else?
Yes.
Well, I'll go first. So first thing I'd like to tell everybody is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you have a plan, forget about it. Learn to improvise and push forward as things come your way. And most importantly, I think you just got to stop thinking about what's going to be on your plate tomorrow. Just take one task at a time and start solving it. That's the only way I see things going through on a day-to-day basis.
That's great advice.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah. Anybody else? Tips?
For example, if you came from working and you haven't been studying for a long time,
Yeah.
you have to change that in your mind, be ready to study and focus on studying. It's yes, you can also do socials and things, but focus on study and also focus on yourself. I've seen many people that are don't do activities for themselves, maybe go to the gym, go out, socialize, and I think it's a good part of your also for yourself, yes.
Taking care of yourself.
Yes, take care of yourself. Yes, just make time for that. You have to make time.
Yeah. Sam, Andrew, anything to add?
I think honestly, balance is key. So we obviously all want to do really well in school, but we shouldn't neglect the social part of it, and then vice versa. We all love everybody, but we shouldn't neglect the school part. Exactly. So I think just having that balance, and then Andrew said, you have a support team around you, so even when you are being social or working, it's kind of you can combine the two in a sense as well.
Yeah. We actually did, just to touch on something, Sylvia, that you said, because we did actually have a question from Christina on Facebook, and she is actually confirmed to start in our program in March.
Congrats.
Congrats, Christina. And so she did want to know, how did you manage that transition from the work mindset now back to the school mindset, and has that been challenging, and were there things that you had to consciously think about to do that, or did it kind of come naturally? How did you find it?
No, I think you have to train your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe in my case, yes. And also remember the college years, how do you study? Because sometimes you just forget. Some people have their own styles. Maybe, for example, in my case, I start downloading classic music to relax when I'm studying. Have my earphones ready, have all the material you need. You know yourself, so you know how you can study the best.
Yeah.
So have that in mind. What can I do to have the best study environment, something like that. Yeah.
I think it was a transition. It is hard to go from, you make your own schedule when you're working realistically. Whereas in school, if it takes you longer to do that reading, or if it takes you have an exam that's coming up and you need to prepare for it, you have to do what you have to do to get ready for it. So the transition did take some time, but I'd equate it to starting a new job. It's getting used to a new routine and getting into a new mindset. So it's not impossible. It just takes a little bit of conscious effort. And then once you get into the groove of things, it goes smoothly. And the other thing to keep in mind is that it's not like you're in your home city unless you happen to be from London. So you're
Just
not
rare.
Yeah.
Not many.
So you're not going to have your friends or family asking if you want to go out for dinner or if you want to do things. So it's a little bit easier to be a part of the school community because you're here for school. So it does make the transition a little easier, but it is still a transition, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's good advice. What do you wish you'd known 3 months ago? So 1 month before you started.
Not to sound facetious, but I didn't have realistic expectations for my budget.
Okay.
So they're not going to surprise you with additional charges to tuition.
No, we will not.
That's not going to happen. But there's a lot of opportunities outside of the classroom that you can participate in, whether it's a social or an extra class for Excel or financial markets. So that and even conferences that you could travel to. So those are extra expenses that I honestly didn't foresee. So my budget had to change, but at the end of the day, it's okay because you're here for the full experience, and whether it's your line of credit or your savings, it's worth it because you're here for the full Ivey MBA experience, and you should take full advantage of it within reason. Like, don't go crazy.
You do have to pay that tuition at the end of the day.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Anybody else? 3 months ago.
Yeah, so tying into one of the questions that you had asked earlier with respect to what advice would you give to people to prepare, I thought I had a plan when I came in, and that's really gone out. So if 3 months ago, if somebody told me that, you know what, just stop preparing super hard and just go with the flow and be receptive to what's going to happen when you enter the school, I would have been like, nah, you know what, I can plan better, I can beat the system. But this is something that I've realized is that somebody should have told me, you can't beat the system.
Yeah. We do try to give people that advice, right? Don't worry so much. You'll get everything when you get here. Just enjoy the time before you come. We did have a couple questions that came in on Instagram as well. And Nair wants to know 24-hour reports. What are they? I should mention that these guys are fresh off the last 24-hour report 2 hours ago, not even.
That's right.
Which was your fourth 24-hour report, I think, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what are they? How do you get through them? Do you like them? Do you not like them? What do you learn? Yeah, Andrew, you want to?
Sure.
Yeah,
I love them. It sounds weird because like when you think of a 24-hour report, you're given a case study or a series of questions that you have to research, and then the output is usually about a 3,000 to 4,000 word paper. But you do it with your learning team, so there's 5 to 6 other people working on it with you. And yes, you have the 24-hour deadline, but you get to sleep. It's okay, and it's strongly recommended that you do sleep. And it's a really fun bonding exercise and learning exercise, and it's such a different experience than the normal case prep that it's actually a fun change of pace. And yes, a heavy weighting is placed on it in terms of grades, but it's part of the learning experience. So it's not like a super stressful situation because it's part of the program. It's part of the system. It's not like this exam that's worth 100% of your grade, and you get to learn about a new company or do this new case study. So all in all, it's an amazing experience, even for the stressful bits.
Cool. Do you guys agree with Andrew's love of 24-hour reports?
Oh, very much so.
Yes. I mean, I think when I first heard 24-hour reports, I loved my sleep, so I was like, not sure how this is going to work, but like Andrew said, you're not actually working on it for the full 24 hours, and it kind of teaches you more so deadlines or like fast pace of the workforce, because sometimes at work, like or in our careers after, we're going to get something and be like, I want it on my desk by tomorrow. So it kind of teaches us how to build on that. And then, like he said, honestly, it's such a bonding experience with your team because you're put into a stressful situation and you learn how to navigate it together, and then you bond together. I know a lot of the teams here, everyone brings in snacks, they order dinner together. So it's just a way to bond with your team and kind of go through this together. And at the end of the day, you learn a lot, and especially, I think, they give you the tools that you need to actually do well on this. It's not just something completely new. You definitely have learned everything that you can be successful on this report.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to it. Most of what they said resonates with me as well. The one thing that I particularly enjoy is the part where we order dinner post 10 p.m. and then pretty much everybody's in school at even midnight, maybe 1 a.m. and you're just walking around the halls, you're socializing, and the stress kind of dissipates after a certain amount of time, and then you're just left with the people that you like and people that you're working with, and you just hang out with them, and so it's a really interesting experience altogether.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad to hear you guys. You don't hate us for those. So another good question actually that came in from Instagram from M. Abdurrahim. When do you start using Ivey's career services to look for jobs, and how do you start to think about selling yourself in that process? So maybe you guys can talk a little bit about what kind of work you've done with career management so far. I know you're getting ready for Get Connected. Maybe talk a little bit about that. Sylvia, do you want to start? Yeah.
Yes. For me, before coming here, I already have defined some paths that I want, like plan A, plan B, plan C. So for me, it was easier to engage in career management because I already have a structure. So I just they help me to focalize on some things, do some research on this part. I work some aspects, and also I really enjoy the more technical career management interviews. I was thinking in banking services, and I had a meeting with one person specialized in that. So I asked him some question I had. He said, "Silvia, you have for this, you have to do this for this. And I already have that but kind of blurry, but he just showed me the way.
So
and he was and I was also kind of oh, maybe I won't get it, not that confident. But he said, "No, Silvia, you do this, you can do it." So it was good for me, yes.
That's good. Have you guys, what has your experience been working with coaches as well?
Well, so firstly, I don't think I ever had the time to start utilizing CM resources before I even figured out what is what. CM reached out to us, and it's been that way since. In fact, I mean, just generally working with career management has been quite a pleasure. There's been some cultural changes with respect to how we work in offices, from the way we work here as compared to the way we work in India, and I've been sensitized to a lot of those changes. And just generally, I think career management is very supportive. They've helped me out with personal issues as well as professional ones. So it's been really great.
Good. Sam,
I think career management here is like very integrated into the program. So they have these 4 modules you go through. They teach you how to develop your story, how to develop your personal voice, how to network and things like that. And then once you complete that, then they move on to getting you network ready or interview ready. So I think they follow a really nice progression because they don't just kind of push you and say, go get a job. It's more, here's what you need, and then it's very integrated into the program. So it's step by step, like what you need to do, and then getting ready for Get Connected. They have a lot of workshops on how to do a like a consulting case interview, or how to do capital markets, and like very specific to each industry that people want to go to, as well as like meeting with career management. They're so helpful. They're always ready to help, whether it be helping you on your resume or just you bouncing off ideas about possible jobs or like how you want to present your story. They're very receptive to that, and they're very accommodating. So I think it's been a good experience, especially getting ready for Get Connected, which is our big career event in Toronto.
And Andrew, maybe you can talk a bit about Get Connected and what you guys are expecting.
Sure. So Get Connected is the marquee career management event in Toronto, and it happens every June. It's not a career fair, so don't expect to find a job out of it. But career management, just to echo what everyone was just saying, career management is part of the program. It's not an extra resource, which means that they're integrated into the program, so you get out of them what you need when you need it. You just need to trust the process. It's this common saying at Ivey.
Thinking about kind of why you wanted to come to Ivey, career goals, I get this question a lot. Have you changed your mind since what you said you wanted in your interview in terms of your career and what you think you might want now, or have you been exploring other career options?
Well, I'll go first. When I came in, I had a range of choices that I was looking at pursuing, but the program itself is so strenuous and it's so intense that you don't have the option to pursue multiple avenues. So it really forces you to make a decision on what you really want to do. And 60 days for me, I mean, up until maybe 45 days, I was still like undecided. But when you have to make appointments and when you have to, get your story ready and you have to get your resume ready, you better know what you want to do, because you don't have the kind of time to pursue multiple options. So it certainly helped me, narrow down on what I want to do, and it's helped me learn a lot more about the industry that I want to get into now, as compared to when I was coming in.
Okay. Are you guys decided? Undecided? Changed your mind?
I think I'm still on the same path as what I kind of wanted to do when I first went through the interview process. But I think it's not now that like that's my only path. I know that I also have other alternatives. So it's kind of opened the door for me to other alternatives, whereas before I kind of had these blinders and I was like, I want to get into this and only this. I never really thought about all these other things that I might like to do, especially being it either in the cases and in classes or just through career management events. They really show you what's out there, which before you kind of weren't really exposed to.
You don't know what you don't know yet.
Exactly.
Right? So you start, for sure.
I've changed my mind a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I think when I applied,
I think you're more the norm.
I think when I applied, I indicated that I wanted to start my own business, and then since doing cases and taking particular classes, like I said earlier, right? I know I'm very interested in finance. I've always known that I wanted to follow a sustainability arm. It's just in what function, what capacity. But the one thing I'll caution is like we are 6 days in. We have met with career management. We do have Get Connected coming up, but even if you don't know what you want to do at this point, that's okay. It's a year-long program. A year is a long time. And even if you switch your mind the day before you graduate, that's okay. You have the rest of your life ahead of you. So like it's okay to take it easy. And like if you're thinking too much about what you're going to do after Ivey, I don't think you're going to enjoy the experience while you're here. and you don't, what Sam said is you have blinders on of I need to do this, then I think you'd limit yourself to so many other opportunities that come up. And even if you don't find a job by the time you graduate, you have an Ivey MBA, you have your experience behind you, so you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you don't know what you want to do with your career, and it's okay. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Really good advice. Yeah, we know you're all going to be successful. We made sure of that in the admissions process. So another question actually that we had come in from Instagram as well, from another incoming student, Elizabeth, wants to know what has surprised you the most and how has the experience been different from what you expected?
I was surprised at how much I would love it.
Okay, great.
Like, I was excited to come to school,
Yeah.
and I knew it would be a lot of work, but I wasn't expecting to love it this much. And it's weird because it's been 60 days, so it's like, whoa, it's already been 60 days, but at the same time it's like, it's only been 60 days, we still have so much to go. So it's like, it's a weird experience because it feels like it's going by really fast, but then when you take a moment to pause, you still have so much to do. And it's not like I'm dreading the next 8 months ahead of us. I'm really looking forward to it. And I've just loved every second of this experience and the family that I've made out of it.
What about you guys?
Well, I think I surprised myself with how much work I can get done in a day now. I thought I knew how to work efficiently. Turns out I learned it here. Yeah, so that's
And it's only been 60 days.
It's only been 60 days, yeah, and I feel like I've built up a lot of stamina with respect to just keeping up with schoolwork as well as prepping cases.
Great.
Yeah, it's been surprising.
I think just to echo him, I think you surprise yourself and how much you're capable of. You never really know that, and you come in here thinking, yes, I can do this, but Ivey does stretch you to your capacity, and it's in a great way because you really learn how to do things more efficiently or how well you can learn even things like finance or quant stuff. Like, I was never good at that, but now sitting in a class, I'm like, I can value a business. Like, it's just very surprising things you learn and how quickly you learn, especially because here you're meant to make decisions and then you defend those decisions. So everything is very, you have to be confident. It just teaches you so much about yourself and helps you grow, not as in terms of career, but just personally you grow. So I think that's kind of what surprised me the most. Just, I wasn't really expecting that side of it. But they always say, you never come out of Ivey the same, so always for the better, so we're here.
That's great. Yes. What about you, Sylvia?
Well, maybe the town, the city, that is not
the
that
city,
big.
London, yeah.
Not that big. Some people say, oh, it's a small town. But it's some of the reason that why we can study. Because if we were in a big city, we had so many things to do or distractions. So maybe we wouldn't focus, and also we wouldn't bond. Because I guess some people will have other friends outside Ivey. So that's good for us, for a community, we can bond more easily.
That's great, awesome. So to come here, you all had to move. Some of you moved further than others from India, Peru. Some of you from small town, larger town. So what has the experience of moving to London been like?
I think it's what you make of it. So growing up in Oakville and working in Toronto and doing my undergrad in Ottawa, I am used to a little bit of a bigger city. But I don't think a big city, or a small city, is a negative. And the thing is what made Toronto and what made Oakville and what made Ottawa so special for me are the people and the experience. And like we've been saying this entire interview, is that the people here are amazing and you make such great connections that we could be in a farm town and you would enjoy it. Not that there's anything wrong with the farm town, but I think the point is that I know that there's a lot of apprehension, especially for Canadian students, that moving to London will cut you off from the Toronto network or the Vancouver network or the Montreal network, and there might be less things to do. Don't worry, school will be busy enough you won't even notice, and you'll make the most of it. It's a really great town.
Great. Dad?
Yeah, so I'll just tell you this. Before I came in here, I come from New Delhi, which is a fairly huge...
A little bit bigger than London.
It's especially in terms of population, there's a lot more people, a lot more things to do. But if you really think about it, when you come here to London, I was expecting to be underwhelmed, which I was not. Because even though in comparison it is a smaller place, it's huge enough for you to go out every night, all year, and still, maybe just repeat each restaurant or each club or each pub just twice. So it's meaningfully big for an individual. And there's I don't think there's any merit to comparing it to cities like Toronto, New York, and London's London. It's a different place, and it's beautiful all the same.
Great. And how have you guys found in terms of connecting with alumni in Toronto?
It's really not that hard because traveling to Toronto is just an hour and a half away, in cars, And before we actually end up going and meeting them, we're free to connect with them over email and phone. So a lot of the networking actually has happened before you first see them. Over and above that, I think almost since a lot of us are from Toronto, we end up going there almost every weekend. So there's somebody there always traveling. You can always carpool with them, go over the weekend, come back.
In my case, I think like when I arrive here, the first thing that I like meet is like Peruvian people from the last year, and not only Peruvian, like Latin American people. So we just bond really well, and we just have like our mails, like WhatsApp. I talk to them all the time. So it's like the first step, because like then after that you just have to find maybe people in a higher position, or like they're more connected maybe to the recruiting area. But that's a huge step that I did, and yes, I just keep that. They are also my friends now, so yeah.
Awesome.
I think alumni are also very receptive to receiving emails or coffee chats from Ivey students, because you can bond over things like Barney's and certain professors or certain cases. As soon as you say something, you know you all went to Ivey. So it's those things that you kind of bond over, and they're very receptive. So even like you were saying, the whole traveling to Toronto, if that's where you want your career to be, I think they know that you're traveling from London, so you can schedule multiple coffee chats, and they're much more receptive to actually staying on time, because if you were from Toronto, they could say, we're just going to push it to tomorrow, or we're going to push it to next week. But here they know you're coming from London, so they're a lot more accommodating on what time you can schedule this coffee chat and like making the most of it. So I think it's honestly a great thing, and especially in terms of networking, just want to add that Ivey has a lot of partnerships with companies in Toronto, so they come here to London as well. It's not that they're over there only recruiting from schools in Toronto. They're very partnered with Ivey as well.
Just one last point to add to that is that when we came in here, we had about a month of overlap with the previous batch, and that was meaningfully helpful in terms of getting to know some of the future alumni of the school, and I think that's helped us immensely, and we'll be there to welcome the next batch as well. So.
And I think one thing to keep in mind is that the thing about the Ivey alumni network is that they've gone through what you're going through right now. So they know what it's like to have to make connections from Toronto. You have a shared experience regardless of what year you graduated. So it's not difficult to make connections because you have something pretty important in common. And to your point about networking in Toronto, in today's day and age, if something like distance keeps you from making a connection, then you really need to work on your strategy, because there's so many opportunities to make connections with anyone around the world, and genuine connections too, regardless if it's over email or over phone or over video chat, or if you have the opportunity to do it in person. So distance or being in London doesn't cut you off from the rest of the world. The rest of the world is still going to be there, and you have opportunities to connect with them.
And you guys have already seen kind of that pay it forward culture, just
Absolutely.
even in the first 60 days.
Yeah. And even while here, like if there's students that need to reach out to current students, I don't think there's a single person at this school right now that would say no.
No, yeah.
And because we think this has been such an amazing experience that we want to share that with anyone that's even considering it. And then when you're here, we've talked so much about how much support you have, so it's not just limited to like the 2020 cohort, it's limited to everyone.
Another question from another incoming student, Asifa. What difference do you guys find between your personal and professional selves now compared to who you were when you started? Have you changed?
Well, honestly, yeah, we've changed the workload, but I don't think we've had the time to, at least I have not had the time to reflect on how the change has.
Process it.
Yeah, exactly. And but I do see the fact that my communication is different, the level of confidence that I carry in speaking with professionals is different, and I just feel better about myself on a whole. I think I can talk about a larger range of topics now than I could on day one.
Yeah.
And I carry myself with a lot more confidence.
That's great.
Yeah.
You guys?
Yes. Also into that, like knowing so many people and their backgrounds and the experience they have, that you can have really like deep conversations about certain sectors, like certain industries, because those people have a lot of like experience before, and great experience also that you can learn.
Yeah, great.
So I went home last weekend to see friends and family, and that's when I noticed that there was a change. And like, it's interesting because people coming into the program, they say like, you today is going to be different than you in a year. And it's not that the Ivey's going to change you, it's just going to bring out the best version of you. So I'd say like I'm a lot more composed, but still genuine. Like they try and make sure that you're still being you. And to Anchor's point, like a lot more confident, and you're able to think quickly on your feet, just like Sam was talking about in the case classroom, and Sylvia as well. Is you're speaking to the whole class and to the professor, and it's a discussion, and your thoughts will be challenged. So how do you think fast on your feet, and how do you stand your ground, or at least open up your mind to new possibilities? So like they say, like I said earlier, they say trust the process, and it does work, and you do come out a lot different, like the best version of yourself, and you can already see that change happening after 60 days.
That's awesome. What about you, Sam?
I just want to echo everything but like we say, to build on them, which is the phrase we use, I think you do change personally and professionally. I think now when we go into the workforce, we're much more mature, and I don't want to say mature, but we're much more put together in terms of how we brand ourselves. And so coming in, we might have had an idea of the kind of person we want to be in the workforce or the kind of career we want. We go out and we're just much more certain in our ways. And then personally, this program brings together people who are from different backgrounds and different cultures and just a variety of people. So I think it really kind of opens your mind up to everything, because there are many things like certain cultural things that you may not be normally exposed to, but here we have a way to celebrate them, and everyone make sure you know about them. So I think it's a great way to kind of open your mind and broaden your perspective and really kind of get to know the world around you right here in the Ivey classroom.
Yeah, that's great. Show of hands, how many of you have a business undergrad degree? No, just one. Okay, minor to business. Okay, because I do get this question a lot. It's really not a huge percentage of people in our class who have a business degree. So, for those of you that don't, how have you found that? I think people are really nervous about going to this program. Is it going to give them, those foundations that they need?
I think the thing to keep in mind is that day one of the program is day one of the program. So they're going to teach you what you need to know on day one of the program. Like you don't need to come with this business knowledge to do an MBA, much like in undergrad you didn't need to come with all this knowledge of the program, because that defeats the purpose. Like if you already know everything, then why come? Not that having a business degree means that you shouldn't come. It's just like there's so much more to learn, and they're not expecting you to be experts day one. The Ivey will give you the tools you need to become that expert. And the way you should look at it, I think, is that you have whatever your degree or degrees were, because there are some people who have multiple degrees, and your experience, and now you're getting Ivey on top of that. It's not, I don't think it's a hindrance at all.
Okay. You guys agree?
Yeah, couldn't have said better.
Yeah. Sylvia, having a business degree, because I get this question too from people who do, what else is the MBA going to give me? If I already have these business foundations, how is it going to help me? How have you found that?
Yes, it's great because, for example, marketing class, that is totally different from like business. It's more like marketing, sales, strategies. It's something that I really was interested before coming here, so we could have that like in the class, like that big exposure, like with real cases, what really happened to a company here in Canada or around the world, and how they solve it. But first, like in the case method, you start, everyone gives her opinion, what they can do, what happened, and then at the end you see what happened really. So then you say, oh, like all this process to get to that solution, or like so many process that so many solutions could have been given. Yes, so yes, it's interesting to have that. It's not only finance. Like I think there are so many courses also like leading people in organization, like how people. That's something that I learned in my case, like through my experience, like to have like manage people. But some people. It's better sometimes to have a course so they can teach you like how to handle people and how to work as a team also. It helps, yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, great. To, I guess, kind of start to wrap things up, can you guys talk a little bit about your sort of recruiting and admissions process with Ivey? So what do you recommend in terms of researching the schools and getting to know if it's the right fit, and what was that like?
In my case, I can say that I start researching Canada first. So that's why I got involved in the schools in Canada. And then something that also helped me is going through the web and see all the students' activities, like the clubs they have. So maybe, I can do this while I'm still in school, like extracurricular activities that the university has. And that's one of the reasons that I chose Ivey, because I was reading so much about it, like about not only working, but like all the clubs they have, also like support for women, support of minorities. So that's something like not many schools have, or if they had, they were not exposed, like known. So that's what I also like say. Oh, like I had like a feeling with that university, right? Yeah.
I think Ivy does a great job of kind of walking you through the interview process. So it's hand in hand, and you really feel comforted throughout the whole process and journey. And Ivy recognizes that it's not just you trying to impress them, they're also trying to impress you. So it's a matter of fit. So sometimes a one-year MBA program or the case-based method might not be the best fit for you, and that's definitely okay. But if it is the right fit for you, I think the interview process was really smooth. And as much as I think I went in 1 week to like 5 Ivy events, and I absolutely loved it. So felt like I was already in the program supporting. So I think it's a great interview process.
Good.
Yeah, so I'll echo most of what Sylvia said from an international perspective. I think it was more than just about Ivy when we started out. It was a lot about London. It was a lot about how I will transition from my life back in India to my life here, and I'd like to shout out to Ivy for recruiting City Match, and these guys have been just phenomenally helpful in terms of figuring out accommodation. And when we landed here, we already had a place to stay, so a lot of the stuff was handled well before I actually came to Canada. Over and above that, we also got in touch with a bunch of previous year students who were studying at the time, and all of them were very, very helpful. We got in touch with Ali, and Ali was my recruitment admissions counselor. Yeah, so she was wonderful as well. I think just generally the whole support system has been very, 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 very strong. I didn't feel at any point that I was struggling with this by myself, and I think that played a huge role in me actually picking the place to come.
Yeah, and City Match is a service that we provide for international students to help with the transition to London.
Yeah.
Andrew?
I would say take full advantage of the admissions process, because it's not just like you're submitting an essay and your video question and you do an interview and you're done. There's so much into the interview process and the admissions process, because Ivy's going to be assessing who you are, if you're going to be a good fit on paper, like at a restaurant or at a networking event, in person, etc. So take full advantage. Like I think I met Sam at one of the recruitment events. I met one of my really good friends, Anthony, at one of the first class visits that we did. And coming into the program, seeing familiar faces was incredible. And the thing is that Ivy wants you to come here. So there's no hidden tricks. There's nothing to the admissions process that they won't tell you up front. And do your research. Like there's pros and cons to every school that you go to. And just make sure that you pick the one that's the best fit for you, because not every program is going to be the best fit. And just be yourself and be honest, because as much, like Anchor just said, is as much as you're assessing Ivy and Ivy's assessing you, you need to make sure that you're a good fit, and Ivy needs to make sure that you're a good fit, because they're very deliberate about how they build the cohort to make sure that we have that enhanced learning experience. And the only way to get the most out of the admissions process, and therefore Ivy, is to be yourself.
How important is the class visit?
So important.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. I know harder for international students.
I would have loved it, but I see potential students coming into the class visits, and I see them benefiting greatly. So for sure, if I had the opportunity to have attended them, I would have.
Yeah. And for international students, we do provide a good significant travel award to help students get here. But yeah, definitely an important part for kind of feeling out the fit. Thinking about people who are watching this video, thinking about, I don't even know if I should do an MBA, I don't know which MBA I want to do, I'm not sure I can do it. I think a lot of people sometimes lack the confidence to think they can do it. What do you tell those people sitting on the other side, now that you've been in it for 2 months?
Well, I'll address the part where people feel like they can't do something. Well, just don't sell yourself short before you try. I feel like everybody who came into the batch, all 154 of us had some or the other a reservation, and I think almost all of us suffer from imposter syndrome. We all felt like we didn't belong. We all felt like we were among smarter people, and we are among smart people, but it doesn't make you less smart. So yeah, you're part of the peer. If you've been selected, I'm pretty sure that you're selected because you're that good. So yeah, you'll make it.
Yeah. Great advice.
And also I think be confident that we work as a team. So sometimes you don't know, but someone in your team knows, or someone in your class knows. And we usually get together to study. So it's always like someone will teach, oh no, this, look at the part. Or someone, for example, in my case, a friend had a background in marketing. So she said, oh, in my company we did this. So you have more understanding about the case, and what you don't know, yes.
Lots of support.
Yes.
I would definitely say don't self-select yourself out. Like Ivy does a great job of bringing in not just like people who are great candidates on paper, but just like great people in general. So I think if you just put yourself out there and try, you're bound to get in, I should say that. But once you are in the program, I think you have such a great support network. So whether you're coming from a business background or non-business background, there's somewhere you can put your experience and your education to use. So we have a pharmacist who, in a case study about, let's say, the drug industry, has something to bring. Or we have a sommelier who, when we're talking about restaurants, he has something to add. So everyone has something to add to the case-based learning. So I think definitely don't self-select yourself out and kind of just go for it, because at the end of the day, like if an MBA is what you want to get, or if you want to transition in your career, you just got to go for it.
Awesome.
I would say if you're on the fence, do it. Like, I have absolutely no regrets, and there were times leading up to the program where I had those exact same thoughts, like, is this right for me? Am I right for this? But Ivy knows what they're doing. Like, they've been doing this for years. So if you get into the program, it's because they know you can do it. And to everyone's point is, you shouldn't stop yourself from doing something incredible because you have those reservations. Like, part of the Ivy experience is pushing yourself, and I think the first step to pushing yourself is to come here. And even on days where it's super stressful, on days where it feels like there's more work than you can handle, as soon as you get through it, you realize that you love that and that you're better off for it. So if you have any reservations, I promise once you get here and you start meeting everyone, you start doing the work, you won't. You'll have like so many happy thoughts and happy things to say about the program.
Well, I want to say thank you to you guys, especially because I know you are fresh off the 24-hour report, so thanks for taking some time to talk about your first 60 days. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you do want to catch some behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on in the program and in the recruiting process as well, you can follow us on Instagram at Ivey MBA Experience, so I'll give that shout out. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks, you guys. Ready for some sleep and a break?
Yeah.
Some food maybe?